No, before we begin this video, I have to give a small little disclaimer thing that I have read the light novels for this series, so this is going to try to be as unbiased as possible, and I won't try to compare the light novels to this anime. Thank you, and I hope you all enjoy. Hello everybody! JGC Anime here, and today we are going to be reviewing Arifureta, From Commonplace to World's Strongest. And yeah, that's just, I don't really want to give it too many introductions, so let's just hop right into this. So, what's a basic story summary? Basically, a whole class gets summoned to another world where one of them is betrayed by one of his classmates and getting sent into basically the pits of hell in a basic description, where he has to try to grow stronger and build his way back up while getting a harem of girls along the way, which is actually pretty well developed in my opinion. Well, to an extent. But yeah, let's just hop right into this. So, what I like and dislike. I didn't really like the animation for this show. I didn't mind it at first. In fact, when I watched it the first time, I didn't even notice. I was just trying to enjoy the story. It was my first time ever seeing the story, and I was curious, and I had a good time to the point where all of the problems that came along with it, learning that the first 4 volumes were in it, were all just crammed into one season, made me a little upset, but I still liked it upon first viewing. And while the animation was noticeable upon second viewing, I still had a pretty good time with this anime for the most part. For one, I really like the characters. There are a few that kind of weird me out, but I can accept them because, you know, they're characters. They exist, and you can accept that they exist because there are those types of people out there. Well, except for bunny girls. I'm pretty sure those aren't real. But anyway, there are all kinds of different people out there, and the characters in the show for the most part are pretty solid. Whoever you're supposed to hate, you hate. Whoever you're supposed to like, you like. And whoever you think is like really cool, they're really cool. And that's one of the many reasons I really like Arifureta. Well, I definitely can't say it's the most interesting anime I've ever seen. It's definitely for a show with pretty poor animation. Compared to Soma Spider So What, in terms, I think Soma Spider So What has some better animation. Like, some of the designs in this show are abysmal. I definitely still had a pretty good time with it. So, going into spoiler-free thoughts, I actually didn't hate it upon first viewing. The second viewing, yeah, it's pretty bad. But upon first viewing, I actually had I'm comparing the two, I had a really good time. Well, once I learned that, once again, I mentioned it was actually 4 books crammed into one season, it definitely took a lot of the charm out of it. I still had a pretty good time first viewing, and upon second viewing, despite the fact slightly having a little more knowledge due to the fact of reading the light novel series, because I thought it would be fun, and it was, it definitely showed a lot more problems than it originally did, which I can describe in the spoiler section. But all in all, I don't think it was that terrible, but I didn't love it. But I wouldn't put it on the top 10 worst anime list, at least not at first. Top 20, maybe. But we can talk about that more here in the spoiler section. So here is a timestamp to when the spoilers end. And if you have seen the anime, I'd recommend sticking around to hear my thoughts. But if you haven't, you can skip to the end unless you want to hear my thoughts in full, since you might just want to get a full, clear picture. And yeah, if you also have anything you want to discuss about in the comments, let me know. I'm always looking at the comments at least 3% of the time. It's a joke. And let's just hop right into this. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so some of the major problems I had. While trying not to compare this too much to the light novels because I want this to be as unbiased as possible, I definitely wish some more development was given to the main character, Hajime Nagumo. And because in the original episodes, basically, he gets trapped in the pits of hell right at the start of the season, and that's about it. He's right there from the start, whereas in the original books, he starts in his real world and then eventually gets to that point. They do stretch things out really, and by stretch things out, I mean really cram everything into one tight package. And for one, well, it was originally a really extensive story. Like, you could tell from the first episode, what should have been this big epic story arc was all crammed into a single episode, and I think they definitely rushed a lot of stuff. While I don't think it was as rushed upon second viewing, I don't think it was too unrushed either, because it definitely had some ups on the manga. I definitely feel like the anime did some things better than the manga did. I had some problems where it would try to shove things in there or keep things out. Like how there's this one moment in the light novels where Hajime gets challenged to a fight by this guy called Kauki, I think is his name, in volume 4, and it was such a hilarious fight in the book. But sadly, they cut it out in the anime because time constraints. But all in all, as an anime, I think it was decent. I didn't love every single aspect of it, but there were some pretty solid moments. And I'll be honest, they did a great job at making me hate or love characters. I think Hajime is one of the best protagonists I've ever seen in an anime just because of his really cool, like, badass attitude. It's really cool. And overall, I didn't hate this anime as much as I thought I would. Because I know a lot of people put this on top 10 worst anime lists, but to be fair, they also put High School Prodigies as well as Smartphone on there when I think those animes are okay. So, you know, to each their own. Would I call this the worst show ever, though? No. There are plenty more that deserve that title, and I've mentioned it many times on the channel, but I already have a least favorite anime that I think is absolutely horrible. Anyway, sorry, got a frog in my throat, totally 100%. But yeah, I don't think this is actually that bad. In terms of trying to cram so many stories into one anime, I didn't think it was that terrible. Like, it didn't feel like they were trying to make you hate the story. It just felt like it was a rushed product that, despite the fact they just wanted to be able to tell the story they wanted, it didn't work out, and that's perfectly okay. I mean, they are getting a second season, so it does show that there were some fans. It's getting a second season, which I probably will watch, because, as I said before, I've read the light novels. I've seen what's coming next, and it is fantastic, and I hope they adapt it right. But all in all, as an anime, I keep saying as an anime because I keep forgetting that this isn't a light novel review. Did I say a light novel review? This is an anime review. I think it's a decent anime. Do I think it's the best thing ever? No, I wouldn't say that. It definitely has a lot of flaws and problems and issues, but I wouldn't call it the worst thing I've ever seen. Definitely on a top 20 worst anime though, because the animation is abysmal at times. They rush a lot of important aspects to the story, and it definitely feels like they could have had a lot more potential if maybe they just took their time, got a bigger budget, actually made it so that way the story could breathe and keep itself going, rather than just going the cheapest route they could, trying to produce the cheapest result they could, because you shouldn't go cheap with anime like that. If you want a comedy anime, a cheap budget works, but an anime that has a budget that clearly Arifureta had, you shouldn't try to make it as cheap as possible. You should try to take your time, make some high quality stuff, and definitely push some effort into it, because there were definitely some problems. Now the opening for this show, that's something I want to discuss. I love it. It's great. It's a banger song, and I didn't even realize it till just recently that apparently it was all sung in English. I didn't know that, because the lyrics are so soothing that it's just hard to keep up with the lyrics just because the song itself is so good. Just my opinion though. Character-wise, I actually really liked a lot of the characters. I found Hajime Nagamo a really interesting, like really cool character. I thought Yue was interesting. Shia is pretty adorable, I'm not gonna lie. Tio is, holy crap, she's a misogynistic creep. Yeah, she's a weird one. I don't hate her, but as a character, I don't think she's that great. Even when reading the light novels, I've never really liked her character. I don't hate her. I don't despise her, but she's definitely not someone I would recommend liking unless you're into that sort of thing. Kaori is like the yandere character, and she's fine. She's okay. Definitely in terms of who she is, she's not the worst character, but I definitely think that she was toned down quite a bit in the anime, because I feel like she would have had, because they did a lot in the anime that seemed like she was some crazy person for the Hajime, but then they never really explain that too well in the anime. Whereas if, again, I'm making another light novel comparison, in the light novel she does a lot more like crazy things, clarifying how much she actually loves Hajime, that is very much more pushed. Sadly, a lot of moments in the anime were cut because, you know, they just couldn't fit them all in. I really wish they spent more time developing it. At least that's much I wish for. So we're at the conclusion now. And my final thoughts, it's not a terrible anime. The animation, well, abysmal. It definitely is a story I could get into. And because I ended up watching the anime first, that's what I thought. And while I definitely think the light novels are better upon reading them, I do think that this anime still has a lot of potential. And with its second season coming up, I'd recommend at least giving it one watch if you haven't seen the story already. If you have read the books though, you just skip to season 2. Trust me, you won't miss much. But that's why I probably have to rate this anime a 6 out of 10. It's not the best thing I've ever seen, but standing alone, it still is pretty solid, and I definitely think that it could work as long as they don't try to rush it with future projects. But anyway, that's all I really have to say. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. I try to upload these anime reviews weekly. And if you have anything you want to discuss about in the comments, just go ahead and comment. I'll maybe respond. You never know. But anyway, thank you all for listening, and I shall see you all around. Peace!